This Sunday is Double or Nothing. Tonight was the final Dynamite before the pay-per-view. Finally, we are here. We've had title defense after title defense after title defense by Darby Allin. Somehow he keeps finding ways to win. Tonight was more of the same. We had another Darby Allin title defense. We had a very bloody hardcore match. We had some really good wrestling. Basically your typical Dynamite. You get some good wrestling matches. You get your garbage bloodbath, which we got tonight with Tommaso Ciampa and Mark Briscoe. And we had Darby in the main event defending the AEW World Championship against Speedball Mike Bailey. And this was his 7th title defense in a month. He has been defending this title nonstop, not only every week, but in some cases multiple times in the span of a week. Tonight was the last of the bunch. And now on Sunday, it's him and MJF, title versus hair. Tonight was also, by the way, a 3-hour block that is still not over yet. But I don't do Collision. We talk about Dynamite here. We will talk a little bit about what happened at the very beginning of Collision because the end of Dynamite bled over into it. But yeah, they've been doing this a few times recently where we have these 3-hour blocks. And hopefully it's not... and again, the sports schedule has a lot to do with it. But I always hope, like, Warner Brothers Discovery better not get any ideas with this to where this becomes an every week thing at some point. I don't know that Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be making very many decisions at all when it comes to AEW programming going forward as far as making any sort of major changes. But in addition to Darby and Speedball in the main event, we also had a new match added to the Double or Nothing card this Sunday, where it will be Jon Moxley defending the Continental Championship. He was very conspicuous, from his absence on the list of matches this Sunday. You knew he was going to find his way on there in some way, and so now we know it's going to be him and O'Reilly in a rematch. Now, tonight, look, was not the most exciting match. It was a very good professional wrestling match. It went the distance. They went 20 minutes. By virtue of a draw, Kyle O'Reilly earns himself the right to now challenge for the Continental title. Tonight it was an Eliminator. And so we know that the rematch will happen with no time limit on Sunday. So we will have a decisive winner on that show. So that's their way of getting Jon Moxley onto the card. Unfortunately, though, we also had some bad news coming out of the show tonight. The Shoulder Demon. He had been gone for a while. He took a little bit of a break. But now he's back, and the Shoulder Demon has claimed another victim in the form of the TBS champion, Willow Nightingale. He got her, unfortunately. Willow Nightingale not only is out of the Owen Hart tournament, she was the one women's match in the Owen that was actually going to happen on the pay-per-view this Sunday was going to be her match. It was going to be her against Alex Windsor. That match will no longer be taking place. She is out of the tournament. And she is no longer the TBS champion. She has been forced to relinquish her title now after 140 days. She was the woman who ended the 500-something day reign of Mercedes Moné back on New Year's Eve. And so her TBS title reign comes to an end. Now there will be a wild card entrant against Alex Windsor, although that will not be taking place at the pay-per-view. Instead, now the match between Athena and Mina Shirakawa. That will take place at Double or Nothing instead. So, your first thought when you hear, there's going to be a wild card now in the tournament, first instinct is to say, there's the door for Mercedes to walk through. But the bottom line is this, though. You would think that if that was the case, they would still do that match on the pay-per-view. The fact that they're not tells me that maybe it's not her. Because if it was, that would be the stage to do it, right? You would have her return to Double or Nothing. Anyway, they're not doing that match on Sunday. It sucks. I hate hearing this. I'm a fan of Willow's. She's one of the... not to say that they don't have a lot of other very talented, capable women in the division, but she is among the best of what they have in that women's division. And so losing her for any length of time is going to suck. The other thing also is, keep this in mind, this tournament on the women's side is already kind of in a way snake-bitten. Because they made the brackets with the knowledge that 2 of the people in the tournament were already going into it injured. Persephone is injured. Sari is injured. Now, Tony Khan feels pretty confident that within a few weeks they'll be able to come back and He's going to hold off on their matches until we get a little bit deeper into June. That's the hope, but we don't know for sure, right? They could have a setback. It could take a little bit longer for them to get to where they need to be. So already we have 3 women injured in this tournament. One's already been bounced, and the others are TBD. We don't know. So that's not very good. But you know what is very good? They say Foley is good. Wasn't there a book? Wasn't that the name of his book? Second book, maybe? Mick Foley. There was a lot of discourse around him over the past week. It was Sports Illustrated, John Alba last week, who had the report that there was interest from the AEW side in bringing Mick Foley into the company, and they didn't know whether or not that would even be possible for Double or Nothing, just because he was still under a WWE Legends contract as far as anybody knew, at least until June. He was allowing his Legends deal to expire. He has had issues with the company and did not want to do business with them anymore. So he was going to allow the Legends deal to expire, and effectively he would be a total free agent. But it didn't sound as if he would even be available. Well, they made it official earlier today. Tony Khan did with a tweet that the new pre-show team, starting this Sunday at Double or Nothing, will be Renee Paquette and Mick Foley. So there was no mention of RJ City or Paul White or Jeff Jarrett or any of the other people that normally you would see on these pre-shows. But it will be Mick, at least for this Sunday, it'll be Mick Foley and Renee Paquette. And Tony Khan in his tweet was talking about, Cactus Jack is back, on TBS and all this. Talking about it like this is, and I think he said this is his first appearance. So he didn't get the graphic yet, but I think it's safe to say that Mick Foley is now officially all elite. Maybe not, maybe unofficially, but he is all elite. I am positive that this will be the first of many appearances that he will be making in AEW. And I think he'll be making history in the process, because what this means is that he will have been a member of WCW, ECW, WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, and now AEW. I'm not going to count GCW, although he has made cameos there. That's a lot of companies over the years that Mick Foley has been a part of in some way, shape, or form. And so now you can add AEW to that list. If all he's going to be doing and coming in is doing some hosting on the pre-show, I think that's fine. But you know that it's going to end up morphing into something else at some point. And Foley, I'm sure if you put a mic in his hand and you wanted Foley to be part of an angle in some way, he's still well-spoken. I'm sure he still has it in him to bring out the old Cactus Jack fire and cut a good promo. You've got Foley and MJF now in the same company, assuming Foley sticks around. That could be fun at some point to see some sort of interaction between the two of them, but I do not want to see him in the ring. I really I know it's sort of the natural progression of these things. Is he going to do more, right? For now, he's just the host, but is he going to do more? And I told the story on the Sound Off where Foley wanted to work one last death match for his 60th birthday. And he lost, I think, 100 pounds. He had lost a bunch of weight. And in doing some light training, he concussed himself and had no idea that he was even concussed. And that's when reality set in. Like, you know what? I shouldn't be bumping. I shouldn't be doing this anymore. And he gave up on the idea of having that one last death match. But I'm sure it's going to be very tempting, if he sticks around in AEW here for any length of time. I just remember when Sting came in during the pandemic, and the talk was Tony Khan is going to protect Sting by only having him in cinematic matches, or it's just going to exclusively be tag matches with Darby Allin, which I believe is what it was. But it went from that, old man Sting is coming in off of an injury the WWE wouldn't clear him from, and so we're going to protect him by putting him with somebody else and let the other guy do all the work. And somehow it went from that to Sting doing fucking balcony dives, which was incredible to see, but should he have been doing it? Probably not, and thankfully he didn't kill himself doing it. But I look at Foley and I'm like, okay, yeah, for now he's hosting. What does this look like in the future? I really hope that he can not get the bug the way that Sting did and can stay out of the ring, because there is no need to see Mick Foley back in the ring doing anything physical. Outside of maybe getting shoved, Foley can contribute, I think, in so many other ways, with his knowledge and his experience. And again, even if it's just in a hosting capacity, I think he could bring something to the product. It doesn't mean it has to be anything physical. That's my only, concern about Foley if he's going to be in AEW. But anyway, so that is now official, and we will see him make his debut on Sunday. This is your AEW Dynamite review. It is Wednesday night, May 20th. A very hot day in New York. Ridiculous. We finally had some rain a few hours ago, so it broke. I think now we're down to like 70. We were over 90 degrees again today. It's like we skipped spring. We went from fall to fucking summer. I don't know what's going on here. It's hot out there. It's hot in here. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Super chats are open. I will be reading them or watching them.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Oh, Bobbert knows how to put a smile on my face, because that is one of my favorite super chats. Mentos. You have a bad wrestling show, you just pop a Mentos, and all of a sudden, all your ills go away. They just fall to the wayside. It doesn't even... You know what happened? I'll tell you what happened. That right there is a reenactment of what happened at Madison Square Garden last night. The Knicks were down 22 points in the fourth quarter, and Jalen Brunson, he popped a Mentos. You didn't see it, but on the sidelines, he popped a Mentos, came back, won the game. That's the power of Mentos. Hey, Bobbert, thank you. Thank you for the $30. We got to spin the wheel. Actually, before we spin the wheel, I got to remind you guys, because there is a pay-per-view on Sunday. I will be live for Double or Nothing. Yes, early Monday morning, Memorial Day morning. I'll be live on YouTube reviewing Double or Nothing from Louis Armstrong Stadium this Sunday, right here, nearby in Queens. So hopefully you will join me for that. Hair today, gone tomorrow. We could be looking at bald MJF. I'm going to assume not. We could potentially see bald MJF on Sunday night. So hopefully you guys will join me for the Double or Nothing review. And now we can spin. Find out how many likes we need. Mentos Gates? Ain't nothing illegal about a Mentos. 475 likes. We're at 212 right now. 475 is the goal for Be the Booker tonight. My friend was sick to his stomach, and those boys powered back up. Well, I thought you were going to tell me that your friend was a Cleveland fan and he was sick to his stomach. I'm sure there were a lot of those last night. Yeah, it just feels like wrestling in general right now, especially WWE. I notice it. Where when you're in the middle of all these playoff games, and, right now you got the NBA stuff going on, wrestling just sort of takes a backseat to all that, and just the overall interest level just doesn't really feel like it's there. And I can see why. You have some more games like that last night. I'd rather be watching that than a lot of the wrestling I see over the course of a week. Anyway, let's jump into the show here. We opened with a shot of Chris Jericho and the Young Bucks. Earlier today, they were standing outside by a lighthouse for some reason, and they're talking about the history of Stadium Stampede. And remember years ago when Jericho beat their father's ass, put his hands on Papa Buck. So Jericho put over the Bucks as the best tag team of all time. And Nick said that it's water under the bridge now. As far as all the bad blood from the past with them, it's washed away. So then they debated whether to call their team the Bucks of Jericho or Y2 Jackson, which is a callback to an old episode of Being the Elite that I'm pretty sure predates even the birth of Dynamite. That's how far back that goes. But anyway, they're all going to be involved in Stadium Stampede on Sunday. Before that, though, we had this match here. We had an 8-man tag to open the show. It was Chris Jericho. Actually, it was a 6-man tag. It was Chris Jericho and the Young Bucks. So I guess the Bucks of Jericho against Ricochet, Andrade, and the national champion Mark Davis. So basically what we got here was a preview of Stadium Stampede. We got a miniaturized version of Stadium Stampede with 6 guys instead of the 14 that we're going to have on Sunday. And Jericho was out there dressed like one of the Bucks. He had like the Bucks jacket on and the tassels and all that. And basically we had Matt Buck, we had Nick Buck, and we had Old Buck in this match. Basically, Matt and Nick Jackson could see their future 15 years from now by looking at Jericho out there dressed in the outfit that he was wearing. So Ricochet, he cut off a lion salt at one point. Jericho missed a Judas effect on Andrade, who ducked into a double super kick from the Bucks. Then we got a super kick party. Andrade stopped that with the 3 amigos. Went up top for a moonsault. Matt, though, got the knees up. Jericho and Ricochet, they fought outside onto the table in the timekeepers area. And Ricochet wanted a suplex. Jericho countered into a back suplex, and both men went crashing through the table. Andrade ate a BTE trigger. Kicked out, though. And the Bucks signaled for a Meltzer driver. Aubrey Edwards was distracted by Mark Davis. He was attempting to bring a chair into the ring. So that allowed the Dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors, to run out with Finlay blasting Matt Jackson with a shillelagh shot. Andrade stole the pin to win it for the heels. After the match, the Gates of Agony, they ran out. So now they're just pouring it on the baby faces. And here comes Jack Perry. And he hits the ring. Now, I have seen people run out to the ring before. Or even in the course of a match. I've seen a lot of wrestlers use various objects as weapons. So we've seen, of course, you've got your tables and your chairs and your kendo sticks. The ring bell, right? We've seen the ring bell used as a weapon, garbage cans. On this show alone tonight, we had staple guns and we had barbed wire and we've had all kinds of cinder blocks and weird shit. I can honestly say that this is the first time I can remember somebody running down to the ring with a bag of onions. I don't know what the significance of this is. I would think that there would have been some Cleveland fans at the Garden last night, given that Danhausen put a curse on the Cavs, that there would have been some Cavs fans who probably would have shown up maybe with some garlic, right? Maybe to kind of ward off Danhausen and ward off the curse. I mean, I can understand like cloves of garlic and stuff like that. I don't know what the significance is of a bag of onions, though. I don't know. Is that what it is? Jack Perry wants other wrestlers to cry him a river. That's, you know what? That's the closest explanation I can think of. Sure. Okay. We'll go with that. He whacked Toa Leona with the bag of onions. And then the Hurt Syndicate came out. Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP. MVP, I couldn't tell, but I thought maybe MVP was, on the mic talking about how much he hates Triple H. But he was off camera doing whatever he was doing. Lashley and Benjamin, they're out there. Again, big brawl with the heels and the baby faces. And Lashley hit a big spear on Toa Leona to close out this brawl. Look, I think the finish here of the match bodes very well for my prediction, since I'm going with Team Jericho for the win on Sunday in Stadium Stampede. So, if nothing else, I think it bodes well for their chances in that match. I said this when I did my preview and predictions for the pay-per-view. I am looking forward to Stadium Stampede. You basically got a sense of what we're in for on Sunday. It's just, this was all action. Sunday, it's going to be all over the place. And you're going to have even more people involved. And it's going to be even crazier. And you'll have music playing. And it's just going to be mass chaos. But I had a lot of fun with that Anarchy in the Arena match last year. And this is basically what that is going to be, but in a larger setting. So I am looking forward. That's one of the matches I'm looking forward to on Sunday, just because I had truly a lot of fun with that match last year. And I'm curious now with some new faces in there to see what they can come up with for this year. Now, Renee was backstage with the AEW World Champion, Darby Allin. And she was, of course, he's getting ready to defend his title against Speedball in the main event tonight. And she just wants to know, why are you doing this? Why are you defending your championship so frequently? And Darby says he feels it. He's certainly feeling it. He said when he finally won the title, he said he was going to go all out. So she wants to know, why do you want MJF's hair? And he said that it's very simple. MJF is the most vain person in the entire world. And so every interview that he does, every red carpet that he walks, he wants him to walk out there bald, because he knows that deep down inside, it's just going to rip his guts out. It's just going to bother this guy. It's going to drive him absolutely nuts. It's going to eat him alive. But he goes, whatever happens tonight, I'm going to do whatever it takes. He's running out of steam. You saw it in the match that he had with Sammy Guevara. Guy could barely stand up. It's the Orange Cassidy story all over again with the international title. He's defending it constantly, and he's just like his body is starting to break down on him. He's exhausted. It's the same basic story. At some point, your luck is going to run out. The tank is going to end up on E. I happen to think and hope that that is what happens on Sunday. Now we had Tommaso Ciampa going one-on-one with Mark Briscoe. And Mark Briscoe was out there wearing white. This is an anything goes match. So you know that white tank top he was wearing is going to be a very different color very soon. Briscoe brought out a trash can filled with various toys and plunder. So right out of the gate, I mean, you could just see where we were heading with this match. Ciampa at one point pulled the trash can of his own, or tried to pull a trash can of his own out from underneath the ring. And he got his hand caught in a mousetrap. Ciampa later on got a cheese grater. He was raking it across the face of Mark Briscoe, who was bleeding buckets. The Crimson Mask, there's blood everywhere. What do we get in this match? We got crowbars, we got kendo sticks, we got ladders, we got chains, we got chairs, we got tables, you name it, we got it. It's basically one big Home Depot in the ring. During a commercial break, honestly, this was the most entertaining part of the entire match. So it was during a commercial break. Ciampa actually pulled out a plush chicken, I believe from underneath the ring, a stuffed animal. And he pulls this thing out and he murders it. He murders the chicken with chair shots. He took a cheese grater to the chicken. Yes, I told you. He was relentless with this thing. Took a cheese grater to it. He gave it a lung blower. He tried to pin the chicken. Mark Briscoe broke up the pin and saved the chicken. Yes, this is a real thing. These are real words that are coming out of my mouth. This is what really happened here on the show tonight. I can't believe I just said those words. I can't believe I said those words in the span of the same week where we had Danhausen, after, I guess, cursing the Cavaliers, in his science lab trying to raise the dead. Trying to once again clone himself, but he was trying to raise the dead. I'm still in mourning from the funeral of the gingerbread man. What is happening with wrestling lately? I don't know. Briscoe, he sprayed Ciampa with a fire extinguisher and hit an exploder. Briscoe set up a table out at ringside. Then out came the staple gun. Stapling some barbed wire to the table. So he was taking too long. Ciampa was able to recover. He came over. He's raking the barbed wire into the flesh, into the face. Ciampa took some of the papers from the announce desk, the rundown, the run sheet, whatever. He's stapling the rundown to Mark Briscoe's head. They end up back in the ring. Ciampa put on a thumbtack-covered knee pad. They're trying to get creative with this. We've had thumbtack-covered boots. Now we have a thumbtack-covered knee pad. He went for a knee charge. He charged in for a knee strike with the knee pad. And unfortunately for him, he got caught in a drop toe hold. He went face first into a ladder that was standing in the corner of the ring. Briscoe got a screwdriver. Now he's using it on Ciampa. Now Ciampa is bleeding. Bleeding all over the place. So Ciampa hit a running knee strike anyway, a little later with the thumbtack-covered knee pad. And then he took 2 chairs and placed them next to each other. He was going to go for an avalanche air raid crash, I believe. Briscoe was able to escape, and he placed the chairs back to back, and he hit an iconoclasm onto the chairs. And that looked like it sucked. That looked like it was not fun to take. So they ended up on the apron. We got a J Driller through the barbed wire table outside. Quickly puts him back in the ring. Briscoe comes off with Froggy Bow. And Mark Briscoe wins the war. As hardcore wars go, this was certainly one of them. I can't say that this one was any better or any worse than any of the ones we always see on these television shows, because we see them quite often. It was another in a long line of bloodbaths that, at least in this case, kind of made sense, because these guys were feuding a few months ago. Briscoe ended up on the shelf. This was sort of his revenge. So at least they had a story, at least, coming into it. This was sort of a proper blow-off to it. Me personally, I don't care for a lot of this stuff. I can recognize that these guys went out there, and in terms of a hardcore match, they didn't hold anything back. If you took this match, if you were to tell me that this was a last-minute addition to the Double or Nothing card, it would fit right in on that pay-per-view. So they had a AEW pay-per-view quality match here on this television show, and I presume blew off the feud, and so that's the end of it. And there you go. If you're into the really bloody, violent bullshit that they do on these shows, then you'll enjoy this. That's what I would say about it. Tony Schiavone was in the ring after the break, and he was about to talk about the Owen Hart Foundation tournament matches coming up at Double or Nothing when he was interrupted by Prince Nana, who mocked him for dressing like a substitute teacher. Then he introduced Swerve Strickland. Swerve's taking his sweet-ass time coming out to the ring, and he gets jumped by Bandito. The two of them are going to be wrestling in the, I guess technically the quarterfinal round on the pay-per-view on Sunday. So he gets jumped, and he's throwing Swerve into the barricade, and he ended up going in the ring, and he does this huge somersault dive out over the top rope onto Swerve, throws him into the steps. Prince Nana tries to get involved with a chair, but he got caught. But that was enough of a distraction for Swerve to take out Bandito's leg, and now he's got the advantage. So he was going to go for a vertebreaker onto a chair. Bandito escaped, hit a one-arm press slam, and then he was going to set up for the 21-plex. Swerve grabbed the chair, and it was a very awkward ending here. He just sort of chucked it at Bandito, and they were staring at each other, and then Swerve just left. So the ending was awkward, and the crowd was church silent for most of this. It was actually alarmingly, for a crowd that I thought was actually very loud and lively for most of the night, and it wasn't a very big crowd. I know they were really struggling to sell tickets tonight as compared to the last time they were in the building. And it was a really good crowd for most of the show, but for this segment, they were alarmingly quiet. But I am still looking forward to the match on Sunday. It's Swerve against Bandito. What is not to like about that match? I said it when Swerve first came back and he was teasing a match with Bandito. I said, sign me up. So I am looking forward to the match. What they did here, I mean, it was fine, but it just didn't get much of a reaction. And then we got the bad news. We went to the back. The TBS champion, Willow Nightingale, is in the locker room by herself, and she's cutting a promo, and she says that winning the TBS championship was one of the best moments of her career. She's had no shortage of them in AEW because she won the Owen before. She was one half of the women's tag team champions, the first women's tag team champions. And she won the TBS title from Mercedes Moné. She was the one who knocked off Mercedes back on New Year's Eve to finally win that title away from her. And she told herself that, night in and night out, she would defend that championship against all comers. Well, unfortunately, in her most recent title defense against Red Velvet, which was on Collision, she hurt her right shoulder. And that also means that she will not be able to go to New York, her backyard, because I believe she's from Long Island, which is not very far from Queens. And her family was going to be there, and she was looking forward to trying to repeat in the Owen Hart tournament this year. She will not be cleared to be in the tournament. So she is not only pulled from the Owen, but the double whammy, she also is forced to relinquish her TBS championship, which tells you right there that they're not expecting her back for a while. I mean, that tells me surgery is what that tells me. She didn't say that, but if it was a case where maybe they were going to give her a little bit of time off and let her rehab for a little bit, I don't know that they would have taken... She would have been bounced from the Owen either way, but I don't know that they would have taken the title off of her in that case. Or they would have had an interim champion, because Tony loves doing interim titles. So it sounds pretty serious, and it's a double whammy. It sucks. She's out of the tournament, and 140 days as the TBS champion, and it ends like this. You know, she doesn't get beaten for it. She has to surrender it. She doesn't know when she's going to be back, but when she does come back, she will head right back to the top. And so because she is no longer going to be in the Owen, Alex Windsor will now wrestle a wild card entrant. That match will not be taking place at Double or Nothing, and instead it will be Athena on the other side of the bracket wrestling Mina Shirakawa. That match will take place at Double or Nothing. And it's a blow to the division. You know, it is. Not just because she was a champion, but because she was a very big part of that women's division. She was one of the better wrestlers that they had featured in the women's division in this company, who is now going to be gone. She's going to be absent for quite some time. It does open up opportunities now for other people, though. Who's going to be the next TBS champion? I have no idea. But it opens it up now to any number of people. The bigger question, the more immediate pressing issue is who replaces her as the wild card in the Owen. Mercedes would certainly be the favorite. I would imagine that most people are going to be like, well, this is how Mercedes, comes back. I'm not so sure about that. Because again, if it was going to be her, then they would do that and save the surprise for the pay-per-view. The fact that they're not doing that tells me that it probably is not her. It may just be a case where Tony is just going to look at who he has available and just pluck someone out, and it's not going to be some sort of big deal. I don't know. Now, I didn't have Willow winning. I'm sticking with Persephone. Persephone is still my pick to win. Assuming, of course, that she's healed up enough to even wrestle in the fucking tournament, because as I mentioned earlier, her and Suri are injured. Tony is hoping they'll be okay by June. If they're not, then I guess my pick goes out the window, but I'm going to stick with Persephone. Lucky Dog. I know Lucky Dog's a big Mina fan. Mina's not winning anything. Mina is not winning anything. We had Jon Moxley against Kyle O'Reilly. Continental Championship Eliminator match. Renee was at ringside, as she usually is when her husband is making his entrance. She's standing right there at ringside, and she was talking about how this is Kyle's first true test in singles action since he came back from injury. Very slow pace to this match. It was very, very apparent from really the get-go here. They were either going the distance, going to the time limit, or they were going to come within the closing minute of the time limit, because these matches have 20-minute time limits. 15 minutes in, Moxley hit a superplex. O'Reilly escaped a bulldog choke into an ankle lock. Moxley is now frantic because there is a lot of history between these two, going even back to Blood and Guts, where Moxley has submitted to the ankle lock. And so I like that he's still playing up the panic, and the fear when O'Reilly locks the hold on. And he even was able to grapevine the leg. Was O'Reilly. And the crowd was fairly quiet, I would say, for a good chunk of the match. By the time they got to the closing minute or two, and it looked like O'Reilly had a shot, they started to get more into it. They started to get excited. And the idea that Jon Moxley might actually tap out here, that they were buying into it. So before he has a chance to tap out, though, in this hold, the bell rings. because of course it does. O'Reilly immediately goes over to the timekeeper's area, and he gets the microphone, and he says he didn't survive a damn thing. Jon Moxley survived him. But now he has a legitimate claim to the Continental title, and he says the rematch will now be no time limit, and Jon Moxley, you're out of luck. He dropped the mic and he left. Now, the match itself, very good pro wrestling match. Not the most exciting match in the world, but technically it was well worked, and we had some drama down the stretch. You know, the fans bought into some of those near falls, and it ties into, I think, the job that they did many months ago when Moxley was more of a well-defined heel, and the job they did of having him tap out to Kyle O'Reilly and give him some rub, which gave O'Reilly a credibility that, frankly, he has not had on this roster in a very long time. People know he's a really good wrestler, but they don't really take him seriously beyond a certain level. Him going in there, even if it was for just a couple months, but him going in there and having, you know, the ability to say, hey, I tapped out Jon Moxley, who's largely still protected, I would say, after all these years in AEW. For him, that was a big deal. Fans still remember that. So I like how that played into the finish of the match here. But later on in the back, because this seemed like, okay, this is probably going to get added to the pay-per-view, and then they didn't say anything. But later on in the show, Moxley was in the back with the rest of the Death Riders, and Renee was interviewing him. And he basically said, okay, double or nothing. You and me. No time limit. He mentioned Game 7 was an analogy he used. Game 7 is the only game that matters. Put the championship on the line. No time limit. Let's see what you got. So that is now official. Double or nothing. Jon Moxley defends the Continental title against Kyle O'Reilly. Renee was backstage after this with Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida, asking for their thoughts on Willow Nightingale having to vacate the TBS title. So Statlander started to talk. She immediately got cut off. By Shida, who said that they're going to fight together on Sunday, and they're going to be watching the ladies very closely in the Owen Hart tournament. And Statlander, who did mention that she would be cleared in time, because she's part of that women's title four-way on Sunday, and she said she'll be cleared by Sunday. She got up in Shida's face and basically told her, you better watch it. And then she stormed off. Here's what I'll say about this. We need this Shida turn on Sunday. This Shida turn has to happen on Sunday. They have dragged this out long enough, and it's just awkward at this point. Like, I'm not even sure why Chris Statlander is still associating with this woman. She always has this very disgusted look on her face. Like, she's annoyed by her. What is continuing to compel her to even associate with Hikaru Shida? She doesn't seem like she likes her very much. I don't get it. But the Shida thing, they've been dragging this out for a while now, and it's not really hitting. If anything, it's just making Statlander look really dumb. Just taking a look at something here. Somebody before, it was 11:08, and they said Collision was still on. Can we confirm that Collision is officially over now? Was 3 hours not enough for this show? This went through 3 hours and 10 minutes. Is that what it went? We have the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena and the Triangle of Madness. So Thekla, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue taking on Mina, Shirakawa, Thunder Rosa, and the Brawling Birds, Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor. Mina cut off an Athena dive with a high kick. She had tried a crossbody off the apron. Athena caught her. This was later in the match, and Mina was able to spin her into a DDT. I love the sell job by Athena. RVD would be proud. Right on top of her head. DDT on the floor. So there was a blind tag in here from Thekla, and she ended up eating a shotgun drop kick from Thunder Rosa. Sky Blue blindsided her with a running knee strike, and she went for code blue, but she got tripped up outside by the Brawling Birds. Thekla went to go use her AEW Women's World title as a weapon, but the referee took it away from her. That distraction, though, allowed Julia Hart to spit the black mist in Thunder Rosa's face. She has been misted. Thekla quickly got back into the ring. She stole the pin to win the match for the heels. Pretty basic fare, honestly, from these 8 women. Not a whole lot to say about the match itself. We do have that 4-way coming up on Sunday. Thecla's not losing the championship. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Why would you take the title away from Thekla now and put it on who? Chris Statlander is as cold as she's been in forever, and she's already got this story going with Shida. I suppose there's a chance Shida could win the belt. I think that would be terrible compared to Thekla. I'm not taking the belt off Thekla to put it on fucking Shida. And then you have Jamie Hayter, who's part of a tag team, clearly being built to win the tag belt, I think, at Wembley. Now is not the right time for her to be winning the championship. And it would be the same thing that happened when Toni Storm lost the title. Didn't Toni Storm lose the title in a 4-way? We're not going to do that again. We're not running that shit back again. Thekla should be the defending champion going into All In. If there's a better story that they want to take the belt off of her at Forbidden Door, I'm all ears, right? I don't know what that story would be, who would be involved. I've had people say, well, Athena could win the Owen and Mercedes could come back and win the belt before All In. I'm not sure Mercedes is coming back and winning the world title. And if she was, then it would be a big enough thing for that to happen on a show like All In. I don't think you bring her back to win the belt at fucking Forbidden Door. That doesn't make any sense to me. We're close enough now to that All In show where, and Tekla's done some really good work. Just keep the belt on her. I don't really see any reason to take the championship away from her. I really don't. Kevin Knight was backstage with Speedball Mike Bailey, hyping him up before his big world title match coming up next with Darby Allin. He said, you and I could be the faces of AEW together, right? Because he's got the TNT title. You could win the AEW world title. Knight said that when Bailey wins the belt, don't forget about the little people. And he wants another shot at that belt. And Bailey says, are you serious? He goes, you got it. Already guaranteeing him a shot at the championship that he does not have. By the way, I will mention Kevin Knight wrestling the Amazing Red in House of Glory this Sunday. That is going to be a banger of a match. First time ever. Red had a really good match with Speedball, actually, in Los Angeles earlier this month. And so he's going from Speedball to now wrestling the other member of Jet Speed. And if this match is as good as that one, then we're in for a treat. But tonight was not about Kevin Knight. Tonight was about Speedball. He was the challenger, the champion, Darby Allin. One more title defense before Sunday of the AEW World Championship. MJF came out. He sat in on commentary. Bailey dropped Darby with a kick right from the bell, and Speedball set up for Ultimate Weapon. Allin, though, moved out of position to avoid it, and a little while later, they were outside the ring, and Bailey had Darby up against the barricade. He was up against it or draped over it. Bailey climbs on top of the barricade. He's got his back turned like he's going to do the moonsault knees, like the moonsault knee drop. But as he's setting up, Darby crotched him on the barricade. And then he did a scorpion death drop on top of the barricade. That took us into the final break before the top of the hour. After that break, Bailey went for Ultimate Weapon. Allin moved, and Darby went up top. He hit a coffin drop. And he had the match won. MJF, though, got up off commentary, and he placed Bailey's leg on the rope. Kevin Knight ran out, right? Cue the Jet. He comes down to the ring. MJF goes over, puts the headset back on. Knight's getting up in his face. He goes, oh, easy there. Easy there. Relax. So Darby hits a scorpion death drop. Bailey, it's put in a scorpion deathlock. And Knight's outside playing cheerleader. He's trying to encourage Speedball, don't quit and don't give up. He was able to get to the bottom rope to break the hold. Darby, though, quickly scurries up to the top rope, hits a coffin drop across the back, and then reapplied the Scorpion Deathlock. Bayley reached out, but he was not close enough to the ropes, and so Speedball at the 10-minute mark, this was not a very long match, right around 10 minutes, between 10 to 11 minutes, forced to surrender. And Darby Allin retains the AEW World Championship yet again. He keeps doing it. So they quickly went off the air, and I had to back out of it in the HBO Max app and then start the new Collision stream. So I open Collision, and it picks up right where Dynamite left off. Kevin Knight gets in the ring, and he's got a mic. Now, mind you, the match just ended. Darby he's destroyed on the ground. Speedball still face down on the mat. It doesn't even look like he's conscious. And Kevin Knight's already cutting a promo on the mic here. And he's telling Speedball how proud of him he is. And you gave Darby the toughest match that he's had as champion, which is not true, by the way. Knight says that now it's all on Darby. It's now up to you. You have to go out there at Double or Nothing and humble MJF. Because I know, because he's talking about it like, I know you can beat him. And I'm like, yeah, he already has. He already beat him. We know he could beat him. Of course we know he could beat him. He literally beat him to win the championship. But he knows he could beat him, and he knows also that when you beat MJF, you shave his head bald, and you send him back to Turkey, the jet will be waiting. So don't let me down. Don't let the fans down, because we're all counting on you. And he ended up helping Speedball to his feet, and he helped Darby to his feet. MJF, though, we see him stalking around. He's in the crowd because he ran off into the crowd. And once Jet Speed are basically almost to the back, MJF, he runs back down to the ring and he attacks Darby from behind. And he grabs a pair of, not clippers, oh my God, why did the name pop out of my head? The razor. Whatever. The shears. Thank you. There you go. Fucking the clipper. Like he's fucking Brutus Beefcake out there with the giant garden shears. Anyway, he is going to shave Darby's head. We're going to get a preview here of Double or Nothing. So instead, Darby grabs it and he traps the arm, and he's going to give us a preview of the pay-per-view with the shears, and he's going to cut some of MJF's hair off. He may cut it all off right now. MJF manages to escape, and he runs for his life. Let me go back to the Kevin Knight promo for a second. The Kevin Knight promo was giving me very serious heel vibes. Right? There was nothing overtly heel about what he was doing. He was putting his partner over and helped them both up to their feet. And he was giving the rah-rah speech for Darby. It's all on you. It's all on you, Oos. It's up to you to go out there on Sunday and beat this guy and shave him bald. And he's saying all the right things. It's the way in which he said it. And the fact that these men were still down after this match, and he's already out there cutting a promo and, flapping his gums, making it all about him. He completely took the spotlight away from Darby Allin, and he took the spotlight away from his own tag team partner. It gave me very heelish vibes. Because it's definitely felt like one of the two will be turning heel very soon. I don't know that Speedball is going to make a very good heel. I really don't think it should be Speedball. If either of these two men were going to go heel, it's got to be Kevin Knight. Because I think he'd be a very good heel. There's just a certain arrogance to some of the things he's saying here, and just the way he's cutting this promo, where I think he can make that work for him. Where he just thinks he's full of himself, right? The jet is too fly, and just the way he talks about himself. I don't think it would be very difficult for the people to buy into him as a heel. I think it would be a lot tougher with Speedball. Speedball, he's very likable, but he's also very cornball. And I don't think that's going to make for a very good heel. I just don't think it's going to work. The biggest surprise to me may have been the fact that we didn't have Kevin Knight offer Speedball a shot at the TNT title on Sunday. As of this moment, neither one of them have a match at Double or Nothing, which is actually very, very surprising to me. considering not just that he's the TNT champion, but just considering how heavily both of them have been featured on this show, especially Kevin Knight. There's still time, right? They could still add Speedball against Kevin Knight to the show. Unless they did on Collision after I turned it off. I don't know. But I thought for sure they were going to throw that in there at the last minute on the pay-per-view. Maybe they still will. But as of right now, that has not happened. But the main event, I thought it was a solid main event. It was the weakest of all the Darby title defenses so far. Which is not to say that it was a bad match. It was solid. It was fine. But of all the matches Darby has had, he's had some real good ones. And this was the least good one of the bunch. The biggest surprise to me was that it only went 10 minutes. You had 3 hours. They could have had this match go another 5 minutes if they wanted to. World title match? That was probably the biggest surprise to me. But anyway, it was the final one. We have finally arrived at long last. No more of these title defenses where we all know Darby's going to win. Now we get down to the only title defense that matters. Darby Allin, MJF, on Sunday, sold out. They've sold over 14,000 tickets for this show. It's going to be a packed house. It's going to be hopefully a hot New York crowd, right? New York. You know how these New York crowds can be. And so I've given my preview and predictions already. I'm not going to go through the entire card. But as I said at the beginning of the stream, I will be live on Sunday night. I'm actually looking forward to this card. I think it's a really strong card on paper. I'm assuming MJF is going to win. I mean, if Tony Khan wanted to shock the world, it could go the other way. But I can't see it happening. I think it would be very dumb. You know, I mean, you already had him lose once to this guy. And then he went on to lose, I think, a couple more times, including to Kevin Knight. So he's putting these people over. And now you're adding the hair stipulation. So now you're going to do what? You're going to send them back in the ring together in the main event of this pay-per-view and just have Darby beat him again? Second time in a row? And then where does MJF go from there? If anybody can make the bald gimmick work as something where, like, he doesn't want people to see him bald. He shows up every week. He's got like some kind of Burberry hat that he's wearing over his head or something. I have no doubt in my mind that MJF would be very entertaining in that role. But I just think him going in there and losing again to a Darby Allin, who has been going balls to the wall for 4 weeks now. 7 title defenses, soon to be 8. And MJF still can't beat this fucking guy? There's something seriously wrong with that picture. The whole point is that he's been running himself into the ground. He's not 100%. That's the whole point. MJF has to win this match on Sunday. I'm sorry. He's got to win this match. Now, I have some breaking news here. Because I see people in the chat I'm trying to do a review here, and I got people talking about something completely unrelated, which is just ridiculous here. So let me see what this is about here. We have some breaking news here on the stream, and it is not good. It is not good. This is from Mike Johnson on PW Insider. I'm going to just read to you what he wrote here. Marcel Bartel, a.k.a. WWE star Ludwig Kaiser, who currently performs under a mask as El Grande Americano, was arrested earlier today. Bartel was arrested for battery. We are still working on the details of the incident. PW Insider can confirm that he was bonded out of Orange County Corrections on $1,000 bail at 11:20 p.m. Eastern this evening. So that was literally 25 minutes ago. And he says, we have reached out to WWE for comment. So that is the only information that we have so far. Not good. Not good. And the timing is absolutely not good, because in 10 days, he is supposed to have this epic blow-off battle with El Grande Americano Gable, the hottest feud in AAA, maybe the hottest feud in Mexico right now. And we've been subjected to countless segments on television week after week here with the Americano bullshit, all building to this mask versus mask match. And that doesn't sound like there's maybe a good chance that it might even happen at this point. Although, again, we only have very limited information. So we will have to see what happens with that. Battery for what? On who? We don't know. We don't know. Maybe he got into a bar fight. Maybe he got into a bar fight with somebody. But without any additional information, it's impossible to know. Sean Ross Sapp confirmed it was not a domestic situation. The altercation was against another male. Well, that's why I said, I mean, we don't know. It could be battery against another wrestler. It could be battery against somebody who picked a fight with him. We don't know. But when you're being arrested, regardless of the circumstances, it's not good. So we'll wait to see what other information comes out on this. But at least it's good to know that it doesn't sound like a domestic violence type situation. This is what you all were freaking out about? I look over, I see everyone's talking about El Grande Americano. I go, are you fucking kidding me? As if I don't talk about this shit enough on Mondays. I'm trying to talk about Dynamite and everyone's talking about El Grande Americano and I have no idea why. Like, why are you talking about El Grande Americano on the Dynamite stream? But yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll have more information on this come time for the sound off on Sunday. All right, let's get into your super chats here. And we're going to start with our boy, Joseph Stewart. Always, always, always showing the love. I appreciate it. Be kind of funny if they really wanted to turn this into a like a work shoot, and it turns out the battery was on Chad Gable. We're gonna work the legal system. That would actually be very, very dumb. He found Ric Flair. Okay, that's fucking hilarious. He found Ric Flair, and they decided to throw hands. After what Flair said on Ariel Helwani's show all those weeks ago. That would be fucking hilarious. And we see mugshots, one for Kaiser and then another one for Flair. Oh, man. Joseph Stewart says, I just found out that there was a plan with Stone Cold getting run over by the car at Survivor Series 99. The car would have kept going and red balloons would come out of the trunk, teasing the debut of Taz at Royal Rumble 2000. What are your thoughts on this? Joseph, that sounds like something that you dreamt about when you went to bed last night. This never happened. This was never I'm telling you right now, this was never discussed. Nothing like this ever happened. That legitimately sounds like something that like the angle would have happened, and then as a wrestling fan, you would sort of fall asleep that night, and you would have visions of that, but then all these other weird things that you would add to it. Balloons, leprechauns. But look at Joseph, man, back to back. He went back to back with the magenta bombs. You can have all the balloons you want. Actually, you know what? We have, you know what I do have? For this very occasion. I haven't busted this out in a while. I don't know if I still have it. I may not. Well, I don't have balloons, but I thought I had some confetti here, but I guess not. No, I do. There we go. This is for Joseph. No? I guess not. I guess not. Party's over, Grandpa. Joseph had a second one, though. A second bomb. Oh, you know what? I'll give Joseph. At least give Joseph the air horn. Russo had a plan in WCW on Austin getting run over. The plan was a black car would come out on Nitro, and Steve Mongo McMichael would get out of the car and say he ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, because he married Deborah? Yeah, but Austin wasn't married to Deborah in '99. Joseph, the drugs that you've been dabbling in are very, very strong. They're very potent. I'm concerned. You have to read the dosage on the bottle. You're not supposed to take more than 2. These are some very vivid dreams here that you've been having. Why would Russo be booking a WWE angle when he was in WCW? Always entertaining, Joseph. He says, happy 80th birthday to Cher. Oh, Cher. She's 80. Man. Happy 80th birthday to Cher. Yes, microdosing is the key. He says the reviews for the Masters of the Universe movie have been positive already. Yeah, I heard that the reviews have been largely very positive, which is good to hear. Movie isn't out yet. Only early previews. Comes out on June 5th, but a lot of the critics and the reviewers who have seen it have said make sure you stay until the very end of the credits. So at least I know that. So there are leaked pictures of the filming of the Batman Part 2 online right now. Interesting. Leaked photos of Scarlett Johansson, you say? La la. Did you know... Oh, wait, I skipped one. Have you seen the new Masters of the Universe trailer that was released online today? I did. They should have had that one first. Did you know the cartoon show Gargoyles was about the gargoyles coming to life at night? I did know that. That I did know. Happy anniversary to the Godzilla 1998 movie, which was released on this day in 98. That was with Matthew Broderick, right? And Hank Azaria. Have you seen the Steven Seagal movies Under Siege and Under Siege 2? Yes, I have. I actually quote Under Siege 2 to this very day. The bad guy, the antagonist, the evil villain from Under Siege 2 was at one time, I'm trying to remember which one it was, but I think it was one of the versions of Law and Order. He was the captain. Which one? What? There's been so many of them. I've seen most of them. Law and Order. Was it Criminal Intent? It might have been Criminal Intent. Yes. Eric something, I think his name is. Also, in your opinion, do you think Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and Marlon Brando are 3 of the greatest actors of all time? Yes, I do. I don't think that's a hot take. I met Sensational Sherry at a convention back in the early 2000s. That's very cool. I met Luna Vachon at the first ever WrestleMania weekend fan fest in '94 and got her autograph. And I met her again and got an autograph and a photo in '98. Same night I met Owen Hart. She was a sweetheart. Happy belated heavenly birthday to Andre the Giant. Yeah, I believe his birthday was yesterday, right? says, also, I want to take time out and remember Macho Man Randy Savage today. I believe he passed away today, back in 2011. I think this is the death anniversary of the greatest wrestler that ever lived. The perfect wrestler. Macho Man Randy Savage. He had it all. Charisma, great promos, great wrestler, colorful outfits, always intense. Just he checked every single box. The only thing you can really say is that he wasn't the biggest guy. You know, he wasn't the smallest, but he wasn't the biggest. And unfortunately, when he did get very big, he was a lot older and he was immobile because he got all roided up in the later years of WCW. That's my least favorite version of Macho Man. It says, was Shawn Michaels against Macho Man one of the original matches that was supposed to happen at WrestleMania 10? No. No. Although his brother Lanny has talked about and claimed Savage had this whole 2-year plan mapped out for a storyline, an angle, with him and Shawn Michaels, where they would have at least one, if not two, WrestleMania matches, and it would end with him putting Shawn over. But was it ever planned? No, it was never planned. Do you think Natalya will ever go to AEW? I think if they ever ask her to take a 50% pay cut, there's a pretty good chance. Buy or sell, Marcellus Wallace or Tony Soprano? Tony Soprano. Who are your favorite characters on The Sopranos? Tony Soprano. I mean, Paulie was an asshole, but at least he was an entertaining asshole. Ralphie was just a fucking dick. Got exactly what he deserved. Uncle June. That's got to be a favorite. Was The Rock always the plan to win the title at Survivor Series in 98? As far as I know, the answer is yes. When do you think Adam Cole and Jay White will return to AEW television? I've given up on trying to figure out when Jay White is coming back. He's always trolling people, too. Like on the day of a big show, like a pay-per-view, he'll always tweet out something like, get ready. And everybody's all like, oh, Jay White's going to be there. And then he doesn't show up. So I have no idea. Adam Cole may never wrestle again. So trying to figure out when he's going to come back is completely fruitless because he may not even be able to come back. Last I heard about Adam Cole, he still couldn't travel. Couldn't travel, couldn't fly. But Joseph, thank you for all the love tonight. I appreciate it. And especially those magenta bombs. Dried Chicken says, we need to see Hikaru Shida full-blown heel turn. I do not want AEW to drag this whole thing out. The unholy Shida wants to get out of the cage. Yeah, they got to end this shit. They got to end this shit this weekend. They got to pull the trigger and just do something because this is just fucking lame at this point. It says, one of these days, somebody in WWE needs to throw a bucket of shark juice at Liv Morgan, Roxanne. What? And he's also a big fan of the AEW ladies. They got some very talented women. Thank you, Dried Chicken. Uffman says, will the wild card be Monet or Timeless? I mean, the way that Toni Storm disappeared, I would not expect her back anytime soon. The thought of that position being occupied by Toni Storm, not one time tonight did it even cross my mind. Mercedes would be a lot more likely than Tony, I would think, to come back in that spot. But maybe they're keeping it under wrap. We don't know the reason why Toni Storm just vanished. Everybody just assumed she was pregnant, but there's never been any confirmation of this. And Moore says, big fan of how MJF and Darby feels unpredictable now. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of their job, is to try to convince you that Darby has a chance. And he does. He has a chance. To me, though, I don't find the finish to be that much more unpredictable. I'm still pretty confident MJF is going to win, but look, I've been wrong before. Bobbert, thank you again for the $30. Love it. And Misfit Wrestling Podcast with a 10. Fightful said battery charge was against a male after an altercation, not a domestic situation, as some are speculating. Yes, that is on Kaiser. And that's, at the moment, all we know about that situation. So we will have to monitor that, see where that goes. We did fall short tonight of the likes goal, so there will be no Be the Booker tonight. There will be no Be the Booker. Do I have a... I don't know if I have a sound... I'm going to have to come up with a sound effect. Every time we miss the goal on a Wednesday, I'm going to have to play this sound effect.
Go fuck yourself!
That could be it. You all should feel very badly about yourselves. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have Cody tell all of you to go fuck yourself for not hitting the likes goal. Maybe we'll use that. That could be the sound effect. Oh, man.
You suck!
Anyway... we're going to try again, though. We're going to be able to try again on Sunday night, because that is the next time. You will not see me again here on stream until Sunday night. You will not be able to have another opportunity on SmackDown, because I will not be here for SmackDown. I will be in the NYC arena calling some pretty damn badass matches on the House of Glory show, which you should all take the time to tune into or come to the show live. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a packed house. We're damn near sold out. So that's on Friday night. Saturday night's main event, I will be reviewing on the podcast on Sunday. So I'm live with you on Sunday night. That's it. You get 2 podcasts on Sunday, the Sound Off and then the Double or Nothing review. And that is when we will try again. We will try again to Be the Booker. Kaiser was losing to Gable. And what makes you think Kaiser was losing to Gable? It should be the other way around. Why would Kaiser lose to Gable? I mean, now, who knows? But like before, why would you think he was losing to Gable? We got to get the mask off of Gable ASAP. Kaiser is over as fuck as El Grande Americano in Mexico. Why would you take the mask off of him? It's got to be Gable who gets unmasked. We need Chad Gable back. No more of this Americano BS. How can you watch the HOG show? Triller TV Plus. We are still on Triller. At least for now. Triller TV Plus. All the shows are archived there as well. But we'll be streaming live, as usual, on Friday night. Yeah, we got the Hardys in action against the Super Smash Brothers. We have Kevin Knight, as I mentioned, coming in to wrestle the Amazing Red just a few weeks after Red wrestled Speedball. Charles Mason is going to be defending his title. Zilla Fatu is going to be defending his title. We get a couple of title defenses in those two cases against homegrown HOG talents, which is nice to see. We got him defending the world title. Mason, that is, against Sweet Cheeks, Joey Silver, truly one of the big fan favorites in House of Glory. And Zilla putting the Crown Jewel Championship on the line against Cashflow Ken Broadway. Pumi Nakuda will be there as well. If you listened to the Uncrowned Wrestling show yesterday, at the very beginning, I talked about Pumi. He's not only an MMA fighter, one of the best flyweights in the entire world, but he had started pro wrestling a couple of years ago. Signed his contract in the ring on my back. Signed to be with HOG. And he's had a few matches under his belt. He got called in on short notice to be on the Netflix MMA show on Saturday. Now, it wasn't on the Netflix portion. It was on the prelims, which aired on YouTube. But he just fought at the Intuit Dome on Saturday. A very, very controversial finish. Lost his undefeated streak, but really should not have. But Herb Dean saw it a different way, and he's He's coming in. Now he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's looking to smash somebody. So less than a week after fighting rather at the Intuit Dome, Pumi is going to be wrestling at the NYC Arena on Friday night. We just got to wait and find out who that is going to be against. And Shotzi, Lena, Kross for the Women's Championship. We got Lena Kross coming back in, one half of the AEW Women's Tag Team Champions. It's going to be a good show. Winston, what'd you think of it? He says, I saw Obsession yesterday. I fucking loved it. I thought it was great. Navy 4181, if Liv loses Dom, will it end up like Obsession? Now that would be a storyline. That would be a storyline. I don't believe WWE's creative team has the capacity to come up with a story as compelling as that one. It's not in their DNA. I think they're just completely incapable of it. It would be like in the middle of watching Obsession if they broke the tension with a DoorDash ad and like the fucking DoorDash guy, or not DoorDash guy, the Whataburger guy comes walking into the house. It'll just ruin the entire scene. The doorbell rings, you answer the door, it's what a guy. It doesn't have the same vibe. Doesn't work. All right, be well. Stay safe. Hit that like button on your way out. And I will see you guys back here on Sunday night for the Double or Nothing review. And before that, episode 964 of The Sound Off, dropping earlier on Sunday. A lot of content coming your way. Go back and check out the Uncrowned Wrestling Show as well, before I forget. Yesterday, Yahoo Sports Uncrowned Wrestling Show on the Ariel Helwani Show feed, or the dedicated feed for the Uncrowned Wrestling Show. Good shit. Thank you for all the feedback, and I'll see you guys this weekend. Take care, guys.